I hope that you jam to that music like I do. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Leadership Live, week 6 of 2022. So it's the 6th Monday of 2022, and I'm so excited to be back here with you. I'm excited because I think this week's topic is going to be a little bit lighter than last week's topic. Last week was, whoo, if you miss leading in the spotlight while dealing with the darkness, after you watch tonight's episode, just go back and watch it. Well, it might be a good time because you're going to sleep. And so if you just have a whole moment, it's all right because you're going to sleep it off. It was great. It was great, but it was a lot. But this week, I think we're going to have a little bit lighter of a topic. I am so excited to be back here with you again. And for those of you all who have no clue what Leadership Live is, 1, thank you for taking the risk. 2, thank you for being here. And Leadership Live is a sharing of journeys. Back in 2019, I did this all by myself for 50 weeks. In 2021, I did it for 49 weeks with 54 guests. And here in 2022, we have a whole different kind of format. So before, it used to be about an hour or so of show. We share, extensively on this one topic. And then the next week, we talk about something new. In 2022, honey, we are talking about one subject for a month. One subject for an entire month. Like it's thebomb.com.org.net. Last month, we talked all about finances. This month, we are talking about familial and marital leadership. It's going to be the bomb. It's going to be amazing. So if you missed any of the ones we've already discussed, look, you can always go back and catch up. All the episodes for the year are still up on Facebook and YouTube. So if you want to go back and catch them, and I think if you go to my LinkedIn page, you can still find them as well. But great information, great knowledge. Last week was a one-off due to the tragedy that happened with the beautiful Chesley Chris. That brought some information into light that we needed to discuss. And so here we are, new week, new discussion, new guest. And for those of you all who are like, ladies, still, who are you? I am Dr. Webb. I am an educational leadership strategist, which means I love to work with growing and inspiring leaders to become more authentic in their leadership, empower their fellowship, and at the end of the day, have a greater impact on the world. I'm a wife and mother of 4. I birthed 2 children and I own 2 children, and that journey led to me writing the book Stepmom, Trials, Tribulations, and Triumphs, editions 1 and 2. I am also the authoress of the Perfect Children of All Ages book, While You Are Sleeping. I am the founder of the Refining Life, a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to provide you with experiences to have your mindset shifted so that you can lead a more positive and productive life. And oh, what a year we are starting on with. We're honoring women of refinement all year long. If you've never heard of Omi Sade, Bernie Scott, check out the Refining Life page and learn more about her and all the wonderful things she does with community and relationships. I am also a speaker and a coach. Love doing both of those so much. I am a queen and a queen. Those 2 crowns represent 2 great things. I am a queen because I am, and I am also a beauty queen. I am the current Mrs. Black North Carolina. 3 years in running. My reign is March 6th. I can't wait till we crown some new beautiful queens. I am also the outgoing North Carolina Ultimate Grand Supreme for Elite Southern Charms. And so I've been blessed to have these titles, and who knows what's coming up next. But today, I have an incredible guest who I felt like, this is the perfect person for me to talk to when we're talking about familial and marital leadership. Guess who he is? I'm just going to go ahead and bring him in the screen because once you see him, you'll know who he is. Some of you will, some of you won't. But hey, there he is. It is Mr. Reverend, if you will, Webb. It's my hubs. Hi.
Hey. How y'all doing?
Well, for those of you all, yes, you're welcome. For those of you all who have never met him before and don't quite know him, I'm going to step away and let him tell you a little bit about him. Let him reintroduce himself. His name is, sorry. Here we go.
How you doing? Well, first off, I'm a child of God, and I am the Reverend Jared Webb. I'm married to the beautiful Reverend Dr. Renita Webb, and I am a educator. Of course, I'm a minister. I have worked in various positions inside of the church. I am a veteran of the United States Army, did 5 years, served in Operation Freedom. And I'm just glad to be here today, just to talk about something that's very dear and close to my heart, about family and marriage. And this, let's just get started so we can have a good discussion about marriage and family today.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing I want to tackle is familial and marital leadership really is just setting the foundation. I think, so many things have to be built onto certain other things. When we think about buildings, they always have a foundation. You think about houses, they always have a foundation. We think about people who are faith believers, no matter what your faith is, you have some sort of foundation so that even if things get knocked down, you have a place to build them back up from. And so in, you know, preparing for marriage and or even to be in a really committed relationship of any kind or to start a family, there has to be some type of foundation. I think that starts, so I know that starts even before you meet that person or you get that thing that you're going to be committed to. So the first thing I want to talk about, let's tackle on you. What were you doing before we really met in order to prepare yourself for what was to be a relationship that led to marriage?
Okay. Well, I would have to start off and say that, this is my second marriage and my greatest and best marriage, and we're gonna be to this thing, death do us part.
Hallelujah, somebody. Yes, God.
I would say that, from the time, I was divorced and I started to date, I was doing a lot of casual dating. I was not dating for marriage. I was dating to have fun. Going out, just having company and being having somebody there, but not really serious in a serious relationship. So one thing I had to do was transition my way of thinking. I had to stop dating casually and start dating for a purpose. And by the time we met, I was older. I was 30 years old. I was 30 years old. So my mind had changed. I was a single father raising two kids. And now I wanted that significant other that God had for me. And I knew that person was out there. But for me to meet that person, God is not going to just give you that person if you're not doing the things that is necessary for you to get with that individual. So I had to change how I dated. I had to change how I did things. So I started to date for a purpose. And that's what happened when me and you got together. I started to date. Me and you started dating. I had a purpose in mind. And that purpose was to find that person that God had for me. And I did. But I had to change how I was doing things in my single life. And so that's one thing I would say, that if an individual, anybody that's online is not this listening tonight, if you're looking for the significant other, what are you doing? What is your purpose? Are you dating for a purpose? Or are you dating just to be casually dating? And if your desire is to be married, I ain't saying go out here and do something foolish to change everything about yourself. But if you have a desire to be married, now you have to start dating for a purpose. And what you might say, what do dating for a purpose look like? That's having conversations that are deep conversations that are leading into you guys finding more about each other, more on a deep level than a superficial level. And so that's what dating for a purpose kind of look like. It's some more things and details when you're dating for a purpose, but that's one of the things that I did and coming to meet you, boo.
Well, I also had this moment of I definitely am at a place where I think I might want to settle it down. And I don't even know when we started dating if I was sure from the beginning, like that I'm really, that I'm ready to head to marriage now. I won't say significantly younger, but but when we started dating, I was in my late mid-20s. I like to say it like that because that feels refreshing.
He was in your late 20s.
I was in my late mid-20s. We're still in my mid-20s, buddy. Let's not go there. I was in my late mid-20s, and I was just in a place where I'd done a lot. By the time we started dating, I'd already, owned my own home. I had a bachelor's degree. When we started dating, did I already have the master's degree? Or
Yeah, you already had your master's.
Yeah. Oh, I had my master's because I was doing internship. I have a master's degree. So I own my own car. I'd done a lot of things as me. I lived alone. Let me tell you all, I do understand everybody's situation is different, but it's something about living by yourself. That way you learn yourself and you spend a lot of time with you. So I learned a lot about myself. I was very comfortable with myself. I dated casually, just as you had, just for, like you said, companionship. But then I just kind of came to a place where I was sick of it. Like, what's the point? Like, I can just have homies for that. I don't need to be one creating soul ties to anybody. I don't need to be acting committed and giving people committed privileges that don't really deserve it, wasting my time and theirs. Why are you gonna date somebody for 88 years if y'all really not trying to go anywhere? Like, neither one of you all. Like, it's just not there.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, I mean, there was this click. Like, okay, if I'm gonna date now, I'm not dating anybody longer than a couple of months unless I feel like this is really going somewhere. Because other than that, like, we can just see how it is. We can add it up, but I'm gonna be talking to you for 4 hours. So, like in everything else, in this type of situation, mindset is everything.
Right. Yeah. And one thing I like what you said, when you dating a person and you dating them for a long period of time and it's not leading to anything, like you said, I won't go date somebody for a while and wasn't leading to anything. That's one thing I think we have to look at for those ladies and young men out here that are looking to get that significant other and you ready to make that step and you like, well, I'm tired of dating. I want to date for a purpose. If my thing is, this is me. I knew within 3 months that I wanted to marry this young lady. And I knew within 3 months and 6 months I proposed to her. Now, that's not everybody's case, but I'm going to say this. A lot of the guys a lot of my male friends that I have and we talk, a lot of us knew within a few months if this could be the person that I could be with for the rest of my life. And if you dating somebody is going on, you ready for marriage and you've been dating them for 2 years and 3 years and there's nothing coming from it, you might need to reevaluate your relationship because that's time. And my thing was I wasn't going to spend years dating somebody and it led to nothing because I'm giving up time. I'm giving you my heart. I'm giving you, anytime we are connected to someone, we giving them a piece of our soul as being in that relationship with them. And I wasn't going to spend that time, years in dating someone, and then all of a sudden we walking away from each other. So my thing was, I'm going to find this person, we're going to date. And if she's not talking about the same things that I'm talking about, I'm gone. I'm not going to waste my time. Like I said, I was a single father. When I say I was a single father, I'm not saying I was a weekend dad. I had custody of my kids. They lived with me. The boys were with me 24/7, 365 days of the year. So I was not going to waste my time or their time dating somebody, and it wasn't going to lead to marriage. And there's a lot of people that's been dating for years, and you're like, well, I ain't got the ring yet. Maybe you're giving them rightfully duties when you're not a wife. And that's one thing.
And I don't think that's a two-way street because some of these men are being real husbandly and wondering why the woman will say yes or why she's not getting serious or why she's still in the club. Check your foundation.
Right.
I think some people, get afraid to have that conversation. Now, and I'm not gonna say your first date you need to be like, I'm trying to get married. No. I think you need to reel that back because you're gonna scare somebody, especially when they just getting to know you. But
Right.
I mean, a few months in, let your intentions be known. And it not be that I'm trying to get married tomorrow, but at the end of the day, that is something that I desire. And
Right.
if you let the other person in the partnership or the relationship or the budding connection know where you want to go, and they're like, look, I ain't trying to hear that, then maybe you need to separate ways because at some point in time, because that foundation already doesn't match,
Right.
it's gonna crack. And
Yeah.
you all are gonna end up in it because one person is in there for one reason and the other person is not. You gotta check yourself. You got it. Communication, that's part of the foundation to me. I think, our very first phone conversation was 4 hours.
Yeah.
4 hours. And we sat there and we talked about all kinds of things. Did we talk about marriage from the giddy up? No, but I already knew he was a father. I already knew he was a single dad, which was something. Let me be very clear with the ladies out there. Hold up. Let me take you out the screen. I won't. Just close your ears. Close your ears. You're not closing your ears.
I already know the story, so
Okay.
why I need to.
Look, I ain't want to marry or be with a man with kids. That's silly. Like, you want. Like, I'm just telling you where I was, and I still married. So just know, one, his name was 100 million. Two, he was cute. So I didn't feel in that life. I was not for that life at all. So just know that sometimes you think you are your non-negotiables, you figure out what your real non-negotiables are. I would
Right.
have any day dealt with a man who was strong enough to be a father, but also strong enough to say, I'm dating you and I'm going to make it clear to everybody, all parties involved. And then, so that set the foundation for what happened after we got married and then became a mother of two immediately into them
Right.
having another mother. And that's another thing that we're going to talk about in a week. But if that had not been set from us dating, we wouldn't have survived. That had to be my real negotiable was the deal. That was non-negotiable, which was the reason why I didn't want to date with kids, whether he was a full-time dad or not, because that usually comes with a lot of foolishness. But what I
Right.
really wanted was not the drama, which came with having a man in my life who's willing to stand up for me as in my role, whatever that role was.
Right. Right. And that's one thing you got to understand. What are your negotiables and non-negotiables? And if my thing is, don't try to. Some people say, "Well, I'm gonna change." They're gonna change if we date for a while. They're gonna change if they don't have marriage in mind and you have marriage in mind, and they like, "I don't never want to get married." Then you sitting in that relationship, dating and thinking 5 years down the line, well, maybe they're gonna change their mind. Why wait 5 years for something
Right,
that you want and they never want it? And you're never
right,
going to get it. A lot of times, those people, a lot of times, say they don't want to be married. They don't want to be married, and
right.
you
Oh,
wasting valuable time.
oh,
Say
you
what?
wasting time. And so you wasting time, or you do get the marriage, and you mad because they cheating.
Right, right,
They don't want to be married. Not one person. You can't get mad at a person who told you their desires, and then you chose to opt against it. And that, once again, that foundation was already shaky. You wanted one thing, they wanted another, and they're gonna keep wanting that other thing. If it's really meant to be, it's gonna be. But maybe you don't need to keep dating. Maybe they need to find out. Sometimes we don't know what we got until it's gone.
right. True that. Right, and
But it
that's
gives people
that's
time to work.
and I think that's one thing that I could say with us. We had those conversations. We had those deep conversations. Once we started dating a while, I say probably about 3 months, those conversations started to come up.
Okay.
And we started to talk about, what we wanted in the future, how did we see us together for a long time. And one thing, our sons, they were like, I want you to be my mom. And I haven't even proposed yet. But like I
Right.
said before, I already knew within 3 months' time that this was the woman that I wanted, but it came with, we spent a lot of time together. We spent almost every day together. And we had conversations. And I will say, and even in the process, once we got engaged, we had some arguments.
Oh,
And and the thing is, those arguments helped us because we had those arguments while we was going through the engagement. We was able to uh, work those things out before we got married. So some of those things, some of those issues we already dealt with, and we already knew, okay, well, this is what triggers her. This is what triggers him. So before we even went into our marriage, we already had some deep conversations. We had some deep disagreements.
right.
But we're here today. And one of the things I would say this too, if you're looking for that ring, ladies, don't move in. Don't move in with each other, because you're going to it's not going to work. That's like what they say, you why buy the cow, what was it, buy milk if you already got the cow, something like that.
But
You know.
I mean, I will say this: there are some I do know of relationships that end up working well, and they moved in, but don't let that be your sole purpose for
Right.
moving in as a convincing tool. There we go. Some people are really on the same page, and they've already made the decision they want to be together. And different people go through their process in different ways. What the word says doesn't always apply to everybody in their life, because everybody is human and they jack stuff up sometimes, right?
Right.
But, and also, it's not everybody's belief system, so I will give them that.
Right.
But if you think that moving in with somebody is going to convince them to change their mind, that they're going to have a marriage commitment with you, no, they may change their mind and say, I definitely don't have to get married. Why? This is my favorite to hear. Why a good thing? Because truly, the way some people feel, because let's look at statistics. In America, the divorce rate is crazy high. It's crazy high, but we don't always look at reasons why people get married. Like, I think if we really broke that down, why people were getting all these, we might see that in a lot of cases the foundation isn't solid. And we're having those situations where people are moving in thinking they're fixing somebody to be with them. They get married, they never want to be married.
Right.
Then even that type of things happen. Or people just live and they become new people. They have been faking the about who they were to even themselves for so long that they discover themselves new, and they no longer want to be in that relationship because the real them didn't want to do it in the first place. I think there are a lot of reasons, but if moving in is the whole reason why you're moving in is because you think, okay, at this point, let me give them an experience of living with me and I'm going to change their mind about marriage. It's not likely to be the best way to start your foundation into marriage. At least that's what we believe. I've seen it happen over and over again, and people get their feelings hurt, both male and female. Let's be very real here. A lot of people say it's the women who do this. Oh, no. Don't get it twisted. Men do the same thing.
Yeah, men do. Yeah, yes, definitely. And another thing, one thing I would say in my first marriage, I got married for the wrong reason. I got married because we had kids together. And that having kids is not building a foundation. Sometimes, we were young, we did things that we shouldn't have been doing, and we had kids, and sometimes we we like, well, since we got children, we gonna get married. I'm gonna tell you that doesn't always work. A lot of times it doesn't work. They get married because of the kids. You can't stay together. Some people are, we're gonna stay together because of the kids. Sometimes you cause more harm by staying together and getting married because of the kids. You got to have foundation. You got to be about you and the significant other. What are y'all building y'all love and marriage off of? If it cannot just be we're gonna be together because we have children. No, we're gonna get married because we got kids. That cannot be the reason why you get married. It has to be more than just the kids. Why? What do y'all have together if outside the kids, if our kids, I can tell you right now, if our house was empty and there were no kids, oh, we'd be having a ball, because we have so many different, we have a lot of the same values, we have a lot of the same interests in things, and we have our own interests in things, but we have a lot of same interests in things. So I would tell you, we will be having a ball. We will be having a ball. And I can't wait until that day comes. We got a young one that's 4 years old, so it's gonna be a while, but when it does happen, I can tell you, we gonna enjoy it. And
Yes,
so
we're
you
gonna
can't just
light
be
those
married because of the
passports
kids.
up. Let me tell you, the stamps that we're gonna get on our passports when they all go, my, I'm so excited. The places that we're gonna eat,
Right.
because there's no worry or shame, because nobody's keeping our kids, because they're keeping themselves. We're gonna eat, and we're gonna send selfies to our kids about where we get to eat because they're not here. Oh,
Right.
It's gonna be good times. But part of that is really, at the end of the day, our true foundation, of course, is God, because we share the same belief
Right.
system. But then also, we were legit friends.
Yeah.
We became friends. My husband is my homie. Like, I honestly, and I have some BFFs in my girlfriends, and they already know who they are. But, my husband asked me one day, and he asks me all the time, he said, I'm his best friend, but he's not my best friend. I'm like, babe, you're on the best friend list. Like, seriously. But my husband has way fewer friends than I do, and I mess with him all the time. But the realization is that just his circle is smaller. And so I have all these great friends, and but at the end of the day, who knows all of my stuff? Aside from stuff I just don't tell him about, usually stuff I'm mad at him about, until I talk to him about why I'm mad, I gotta tell somebody else out of, pulling his CPAP off his face at night. But other than that, he knows everything. He knows all the secrets. He knows where all the bodies are buried, even though there were no real bodies. Don't get it all out of hand. But he knows my stuff. And he still, legit wants to stay in the same house with me. And I am not easy. I am not a complicated being. Don't say it like that. Don't
I love
one of these people. But the truth is, I am complex, and so is he. And
right.
We accepted those complexities before we do.
Right.
Part of our foundation, the marital counseling.
Yes,
Marital counseling. Oh, my.
Right.
Whew,
and I definitely, marriage counseling is definitely needed, and not just before. You need to have marriage counseling while you're in the marriage. That this is something that you got to go through. We've been together almost 14 years. Be 14 years coming up, and these people been together 20, 30, 40 years, and some of those folks got to where they are because of counseling. You have to have that, and it's healthy. It's healthy for your relationship to have that counseling, or have someone that you can talk to. We got a lot of married friends. Most of our close friends are married. So, we have folks that we can talk to about, things, not so much personal, but, just sometimes we got to have someone to talk to.
Right.
That has same values.
Right. But it's personal conversations. It's just not, you ain't got to tell them everything. Like,
right.
They get the gist of it. But I mean, the great thing about having other married couples around us, or other families around us, because it's not just married couples, we have, other families around us. For the most part, they get it. They have the same value system that we do. So part of our foundation even was establishing our village. Like, who were we going to allow to be around us and to be around our family and to have influence over us? That was real deep, because let's be real here, it wasn't automatic family.
Right.
At all.
And that's one thing we have to be careful as we get into the serious moments of dating and getting into marriage. If you got every friend that you have is single, there might be an issue. Might be issues, because single friends gonna do certain things that you don't need to be doing, and going to certain places that you don't need to go. So you have to be careful with that when you're getting into serious relationship. Not saying you drop all your single friends, but you have to be careful. You might not be able to go everywhere John Boy go and everything.
John
So you have
Boy.
John Boy. So you have to be careful with that. You got to build a foundation.
Right.
Build that
And
foundation.
a good friend of ours, Ivy, she uses the phrase, sometimes you got to move different. Sometimes you make decisions, things happen, you're ready to go in certain directions in your life. And sometimes you have to move different. And so I love the way she said that, because it's true. Once you decide that you're going towards this level of relationship with anybody, whether you have a bunch of people and friends in marriage or in deep relationships, or if they're all single, regardless, is your situation. So you're going to have to be different. Like when we, I'm not going to get into that because we've set the foundation today. I'll talk about after we got married, when we get to that, like next week. But this week, in that preparation, you had to start moving differently even before the I do's, because you got to prepare yourself.
Yeah.
You got to prepare yourself.
Yeah, because I was definitely coming from the military background. Anybody know anything about that? There's a lot of things to go on, and most of my friends at that time was single, very single, and we were doing things single people do. So we just I had to change some things. I still had them. The guys are still with my friends, but I couldn't do some of the things that they were doing, and I didn't want to, because I was ready to make a commitment. I was ready to find that one that God had for me, like I said at the beginning. And so I had to start looking at things differently, moving in a different way. And, hey, here we are almost 14 years later. So it worked for me. Say what?
It did. It did. So as we are preparing to wrap up this evening, just talking about setting foundation, first and foremost, you got to deal with you first. I think that was the first step for both of us. We had to deal with ourselves, deal with our mindset, make decisions for ourselves, even before we hooked up with the new person, right? Yeah. And after that, once you get with this person and you're feeling kind of like maybe this is yummy, you have to have those real conversations. Like it depends on what your situation is. You may be two single people, like completely single. You may have children. Somebody may have just a lot of baggage and trauma. You have to have the real conversation. Know what the trauma is, because we didn't do to, because we bite-sized pieces, is that there was trauma on both of our sides involved in ourselves that we didn't particularly want to dump on a relationship. And we'll talk about next week a little bit how that trauma kind of played out. So you have to have these conversations. You have to be real. You have to know what you want. Then you got to get help from somebody else. Surround yourself with a very strong village that is also rooting for what you want, but then also get with a professional, whether they are, a licensed doctor, professional therapist, your religion, your faith, that kind of counseling, but get somebody who will help facilitate conversations and help you all come to some kind of, I would say compromise, but understanding, because it's not always compromise. And we're on the same page. Sometimes we do have to compromise, but do that and then continue to move forward and, making sure that you all stay on the same page as much as possible. But remember, you're two people. So even though you're two, it may become one, two different experiences, two completely different lives that have to come together. And so staying on the same page is not always easy, it's necessary. So if it was one more thing that you had to tell people, short, sweet, and to the point, whether it's reiterating or something new and setting this foundation, what's one piece that that is a must-have in setting your foundation for?
Well, you cannot be afraid of the deep conversations. And you cannot be afraid. You got to have those conversations, because sometimes we don't want to have those deep conversations because we might turn the other person away. But if they turn away when you get into those deep conversations, that was not the individual for you. So one thing we have to understand is don't be afraid to have those deep conversations and to building that foundation. It has to be there.
Absolutely. And the thing is that maybe they're not the person for you right now. Maybe they're not ready. Maybe they needed to hear that because they're going to make a decision later to do what they need to do to match that, or they aren't. And, it's better to find out somebody wasn't your person before you make some lifelong commitment that is going to take a lot of work and paperwork and soul breaks and all this other stuff to to depart from, than to just get your feelings hurt for a little bit and wipe your tears and get back up and try again.
Right.
So that's the wrap of week 1. Because I told y'all, we're not going to give y'all these hour-long episodes. We're going to give you something to think about. And that's something to think about. This week, I want you to spend a little time, if you're already in a marital relationship, have some deep conversation that you haven't had before or haven't had in a while. Revisit something that is going to reset your foundation. If you're single and you're single and you're not even looking, just kind of do some self-evaluation. What is it that you want right now?
Yeah.
And what don't you want right now? And if you're a person who in your heart is desiring a stronger connection or even marriage, start thinking about what foundational pieces you need in place, or your non-negotiables and your maybe negotiables. What is it really that you want? Spend this week going over that to think about your foundation, and we'll talk about how we built on our foundation next week. Got it? That's your homework. Jared, thank you so much for joining me tonight. You'll be back with me next week. And who knows over the month who else might join us. But I think that it's great to get to talk about this level of leadership, because if you haven't noticed, this has to do with personal leadership in your own life, and then setting up to lead an organization that just happens to be either a coupling of a marriage or a full family unit. That's an organization, and that takes a lot of leadership. So I love you all. Join us back here next Monday night at 9 p.m. for Leadership Live, week 7. Still talking about familial and marital leadership. And always, as I'm going to always encourage you, is to keep your leadership all the way live.